Welcome to our fascinating journey through history. And look, I know what you're thinking, history, again, but trust me, this isn't just about dates and dusty documents, it's about connection, about understanding the people who shaped a nation, and sometimes, it's about something as seemingly simple yet profoundly revealing as their relationship with animals. Today we're exploring a unique aspect of American presidents, their love for horseback riding. It's more than just a quaint hobby. It's a thread that connects different eras, different personalities, and different leadership styles, offering us a surprisingly intimate glimpse into their lives and times. You see, the horse, for much of American history, wasn't just a mode of transportation or a tool for agriculture. It was a symbol of strength, of freedom, of a certain rugged individualism that became deeply intertwined with the American identity. And for presidents, being seen on horseback could project an image of command, of being in touch with the land, or even a certain relatable, down-to-earth quality. From the battlefields of the Revolution to the ranches of California, these powerful figures often found solace, exercise, or a potent political statement in the simple act of riding. So, saddle up, because we're about to embark on a historical canter, looking at how this four-legged companion has trotted alongside some of the most powerful individuals in the world. We'll explore not just they rode, but they rode, and what it tells us about them, their presidencies, and the evolving American landscape. It's a story of leadership, leisure, and the enduring bond between humans and horses played out on the grand stage of American history. This is going to be, if you'll pardon the pun, a real ride. Alright, let's start at the very beginning, with the man whose image is practically synonymous with stoic leadership and yes, being on a horse, George Washington. It's almost impossible to picture Washington, especially during the Revolutionary War, without imagining him astride a noble steed, surveying the troops, or leading a charge. And this isn't just some romanticized historical fiction. Washington was, by all accounts, an exceptionally skilled and passionate horseman. His diaries are filled with references to riding, breeding horses, and the sheer necessity of good horsemanship in 18th century life, especially for a military leader and a plantation owner. Think about it. In Washington's era, the horse was the equivalent of a modern-day general's command vehicle, a farmer's tractor, and a commuter's car, all rolled into one. His ability to ride for long hours, to handle different temperaments of horses, and to understand their care was not just a hobby, but a crucial skill set. His favorite warhorse, Nelson, a striking chestnut with a white face and legs, carried him through many pivotal moments of the Revolution. Another, Blueskin, a magnificent gray, was often depicted in portraits due to his regal appearance, though Nelson was the steadier under fire. This tells us something about Washington himself, a pragmatist who valued reliability but also understood the power of image. The prevalence of equestrian portraits of Washington isn't accidental. These paintings weren't just capturing a likeness, they were crafting an image of leadership. A man on horseback, particularly a military leader, conveyed authority, command, and a connection to the classical ideals of heroism. It spoke to his strength, his readiness, and his elevated status. For the first president, establishing these visual cues of power and dignity was incredibly important for the nascent republic. So, Washington's horsemanship was both a personal passion and a vital component of his public persona, setting a precedent for how Americans viewed their leaders. Now let's move from the battlefield general to the philosopher-president, Thomas Jefferson. While perhaps not as famously depicted on horseback in a military context as Washington, Jefferson was an ardent and lifelong equestrian. For him, riding wasn't just about utility or image, it was deeply connected to his philosophy of life, which emphasized the importance of both intellectual pursuits and physical well-being. He famously advised his nephew Peter Carr that a strong body makes the mind strong, and advocated for vigorous exercise, with riding being a prime example. Jefferson, the architect of Monticello, and the author of the Declaration of Independence, was a man of incredible intellectual energy, but he also understood the need to escape the confines of his study. He would often ride for hours through the Virginia countryside surrounding his estate, finding it a perfect way to clear his head, observe nature, and maintain his health. He meticulously recorded details about his horses in his farm book, indicating a genuine interest and care for them. This wasn't just a casual pastime, it was an integral part of his daily routine, a way to balance the immense pressures of his political and intellectual life. Furthermore, Jefferson's advocacy for riding speaks to a broader Enlightenment ideal, the well-rounded individual. He believed in cultivating all aspects of human potential, and physical fitness was a key component. In an era before organized sports or modern gyms, horseback riding offered a vigorous workout, a connection to the land, and a moment of solitude or companionship depending on the occasion. So, when we think of Jefferson, let's not just picture him hunched over a desk drafting profound documents. Let's also imagine him galloping across his fields, a man who understood that a healthy republic, much like a healthy individual, needed both a sharp mind and a strong constitution. Chapter 3. Theodore Roosevelt, the strenuous ride of a Rough Rider. Fast forward about a century, and we encounter a president whose name is almost a synonym for adventure and vigor. Theodore Roosevelt, TR as he was affectionately known, was the embodiment of the strenuous life he so famously preached, and horseback riding was central to this philosophy. From his early days ranching in the Dakota Badlands to his charge up San Juan Hill with the Rough Riders, and even during his presidency, Roosevelt was an indomitable horseman. His connection to horses was visceral, energetic, and deeply woven into his public image as a dynamic and forceful leader. Roosevelt didn't just ride for leisure, he rode with a purpose, often pushing himself and his companions to their limits. There are famous accounts of his point-to-point rides while president, where he would challenge diplomats and military aides to follow him directly from one location to another, regardless of obstacles like rivers or steep inclines. This wasn't just about physical fitness, it was a test of character, a demonstration of his relentless energy and determination. His time as a cowboy in the West had instilled in him a deep appreciation for the ruggedness and freedom that horseback riding offered, and he carried that spirit into the White House. Moreover, Roosevelt's equestrian adventures helped to solidify his image as a man of action, a stark contrast to the more sedentary lifestyles of some of his predecessors. He understood the power of this image in an era of burgeoning American power and expansion. His famous rides, often publicized, showcased his vitality and connected him to a romanticized vision of the American frontier. For TR, horseback riding wasn't just a pastime, it was an expression of his core beliefs about personal strength, national vigor, and the importance of engaging directly and robustly with the world around him. He truly galloped through life. Chapter 4. Ronald Reagan, the rancher president, and his Western heart. Jumping ahead again, let's consider a president from the more recent past who cultivated a strong equestrian image, Ronald Reagan. For Reagan, horseback riding, particularly at his beloved Rancho del Cielo in California, was more than just a photo opportunity. It was a genuine passion and an escape. The image of Reagan in Western wear, confidently atop a horse, became an iconic part of his presidency, projecting an aura of all-American strength, optimism, and a connection to traditional values. This wasn't just spin, it was an authentic reflection of a man who truly loved horses and the ranching lifestyle. Reagan often spoke of the sense of freedom and peace he found while riding. Rancho del Cielo, his ranch in the sky, was his sanctuary, a place where he could shed the immense pressures of the Oval Office and reconnect with something more elemental. He was a skilled rider, comfortable and natural in the saddle, and this authenticity resonated with many Americans. It harked back to a simpler, perhaps romanticized vision of America, one of rugged individualism and a close relationship with the land. His rides were not typically the strenuous challenges of a Theodore Roosevelt, but rather reflective journeys through the picturesque California landscape. This connection to horses and the Western lifestyle also played a subtle but significant role in his political persona. It helped to craft an image of a leader who was strong yet approachable, grounded despite holding the most powerful office in the world. It reinforced his image as an outsider to Washington D.C.'s political establishment, even while he was at its very center. For Reagan, the saddle offered not just a physical vantage point but a psychological one, allowing him to maintain perspective and a sense of his own identity amidst the whirlwind of presidential duties. His love for horses was, in many ways, a key to understanding the man behind the presidency. Chapter 5. Joe Biden, continuing the tradition in modern times. And that brings us closer to the present day, with President Joe Biden. While perhaps not defined by his equestrian pursuits in the same iconic way as some of his predecessors, Biden too has a history with horseback riding, reflecting an active lifestyle and a connection to a pastime that has, as we've seen, a long and storied place in presidential history. It's a reminder that even in our hyper-modern, technologically driven age, the simple act of riding a horse can still hold appeal and significance for those in the highest office. Reports and photographs have occasionally surfaced showing Biden enjoying horseback rides, particularly during his vacations or at his Delaware home. These instances, while perhaps less central to his public image than for, say, Reagan or Theodore Roosevelt, nonetheless offer a glimpse into his personal life and his ways of unwinding. It suggests a continuity, a thread linking him to that long line of presidents who found recreation, and perhaps a measure of peace, in the saddle. It's a more private pursuit perhaps, but one that still speaks to an appreciation for an activity that requires skill, balance, and a connection with an animal. In an era where presidential fitness is often discussed in terms of gym workouts or cycling, horseback riding offers a different kind of engagement, one that involves a partnership with another living being. For Biden, these moments on horseback might be less about crafting a public image, and more about personal enjoyment and maintaining an active life. It shows that the appeal of horseback riding, whether as a vigorous exercise, a peaceful escape, or a connection to nature, endures, even for the leader of the free world in the 21st century. It's a quiet nod to a tradition that has galloped alongside the presidency for centuries. Chapter 6. The Enduring Hoofprints on Presidential History. So, from George Washington's revolutionary rides to Joe Biden's more contemporary canters, we've seen how horseback riding has been a surprisingly consistent thread in the tapestry of the American presidency. It's more than just a historical footnote. It's a lens through which we can see these leaders as individuals, with their own passions, their needs for escape, and their ways of projecting strength or connecting with a certain American ideal. It reminds us that history is made by real people who sometimes just really enjoyed a good ride. The relationship between presidents and their horses reflects changing times, from an era where horsemanship was a vital skill to one where it's a recreational pursuit. Yet, the symbolism endures. The horse as a representation of freedom, power, and a connection to the land. It's fascinating how this ancient partnership between human and animal has continued to find a place even in the highest echelons of modern power. Thanks for joining us on this historical ride. We hope it gave you a new perspective on these familiar figures. And as always, if you found this gallop through history as interesting as I did, please show your support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing insights into history. Let us know in the comments which presidential rider surprised you the most, or if there are other unique presidential hobbies you'd like us to explore. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and don't forget to be awesome.